Hey there guys, my name is Tezu, and today we're going to be discussing why I believe we'll see a class system make its way into Hytale. I do want to preface this video by saying outright that this is entirely speculation and you should take my ideas with a grain of salt. The purpose of this video is simply to explore ideas that I believe could be a part of the game. Now, if you've ever played an RPG game before, then you're familiar with the idea of a class system. You typically have a melee-focused fighter, a ranged character focusing on damage output or status ailments, and a spellcaster usually capable of area effect damage or healing. And I think this core class structure lends itself to Hytale so much that it will be present at the game launch. However, before we discuss exactly what I believe we'll see in Hytale, let's discuss what kind of popular class systems there are so we can get a clear image of what we might be able to expect in Hytale. First off, let's discuss what I'm going to refer to as a rigid class system. This kind of class system is prevalent in games such as World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, and Black Desert Online. Rigid class systems have been around for what seems like forever. In this system, you pick your class when you make your character. Do you want to be a knight, a ranger, a wizard, a cleric? Well, whatever you choose is what you're stuck with. These rigid class systems put you on a sort of rail where your choice in skills, weapons, stats, and even armor are all heavily restricted. While you might be able to find a beautiful longsword out in the world, if you decide to be a wizard, then the best thing you can do with it is sell it off. This type of class system helps guide the player to build a capable character, but at the same time it limits their freedom in realizing exactly what they want their character to be. Alternatively, we can find a bit more player freedom in what we'll call a developed class system. If you've ever played a game in the Elder Scrolls or Souls series, then you're already familiar with this kind of system. In a developed class system, players are often given a baseline starting point that is shaped towards the type of character they want to create. Beyond this point, however, players are able to shape the character how they see fit by allotting various stat points, using different armors or weapons, and sometimes learning specific skills. This allows the player to create an assortment of specialized or unorthodox class types as they see fit. Unfortunately, more often than not, these decisions in stats and skills are permanent though, locking the player into the path they've already chosen. While this allows the player more freedom in their style of play than a rigid class system might, I still believe it's too restrictive for a game like Hytale. It's this idea of player freedom that I think will shape a lot of the features we see in Hytale, including a potential class system. As a developer, I just don't really see Hytale Studios limiting a player in how they choose to enjoy themselves. Because of this, I think we'll see a class system similar to what we've already seen come into place within Terraria. We'll refer to this as a soft class system or a gear-based one. Now, in Terraria, there was never anything that explicitly said you were a melee user, or a gun user, or a magic user. Instead, you were incentivized to take on one of these roles through the perks given by certain armor sets. While this does somewhat prevent a player from really sculpting odd archetypes, it still allows them to switch between those roles on a whim. I mean, all you have to do is change your gear out after all. By now, I'm sure you're probably able to see where this kind of system could easily fit into Hytale, but just in case you can't, we're going to go through two of the images we've seen to really highlight where this kind of system could shine. So first off, let's start by taking a look at this screenshot. On the right hand side, we can see that this is a screenshot of the Workbench UI. In the middle, we can see where the player is able to select from a variety of different weapons to craft. What we care about, however, is the left hand side. Here, we can clearly see what appears to be an information panel for the player's character. The top of the panel shows us that we have four primary armor types: helmets, chest pieces, leggings, and gloves. Below this section, we can see an area where the player can equip 4 different rings or bracelets, as well as a 5th slot with an unusual emblem. I suspect this slot is intended to be our offhand slot, judging from the fact that we've seen players wielding shields, quivers, and backpacks already. And finally, at the very bottom of the panel, we can see a stat lineup that is obviously meant for health, health regen, mana regen, defense, melee attack, ranged attack, and magic attack. The combination of these stats and the available gear slots really emphasizes the ability we will have for deep character development. However, since we can only infer so much from looking at a single panel and one UI, next we're going to move on to this piece of concept art for tooltips. And this is where I'm led to believe that we will see a full Terraria style class system implemented into Hytale. In this image, we're shown 4 items: a common Chork sword, a rare soldier's chest plate, an epic fire sword, and a legendary demonic axe. Now, by looking over these tooltips, it becomes crystal clear just how the Hytale developers might encourage a class system. While the Chork sword looks cool, it is otherwise just a generic weapon that isn't super helpful for this discussion. The soldier's chest plate, however, is our first hint at an actual class system. Here, we can see that this piece of rare armor gives the player 3 stats: 28 defense, 9 health, and 13 melee attack. This immediately raises a flag, showing us that this piece of armor is fully designed for a melee-focused fighter. High defensive stats and health bonuses are almost always intended for players who are trying to tank damage, something ranged characters would never try to do. A spellcaster or ranger would never need big bonuses to health or armor and definitely wouldn't need the bonus to melee damage. It's easy to see how a rare chestplate for a mage might take a lower defense stat while granting a larger mana pool and magic damage boost instead of the stats we see here. Moving on to the Fire Sword and Demonic Axe, however, we're now introduced to the fact that weapons, and possibly even armor, can have special effects once they reach the epic and legendary levels. And this is basically where Pandora's box opens wide up for class-based items. We can now imagine cloaks for rangers that grant speed or invisibility, or robes for mages that might infrequently freeze anyone who attacks them with melee damage. We could imagine bows with multi-shot or rapid shot functions, or staves with the ability to lifesteal or mana drain. Not to mention that all of these abilities and stats could be further compounded by the ring and offhand slots, each of which probably share these same traits. With all the different possibilities for armor, weapons, and accessories now, it's easy to see where a class system could fit into the game. With that in mind though, this is still an encouraged class system. Players would still have the freedom to mix and match their build as they saw fit. Perhaps you might choose to take in armor fitted for defense, but rings fitted for archery in case you found yourself wanting to fight a certain enemy from afar. Or maybe you want to be a battle mage adorned in full plate mail, while still having enough mana to fire off your favorite spells. No matter what you do end up choosing though, this is a system I believe we will end up seeing in Hytale, simply because it adds extensive layers of depth to the game without restricting the player from enjoying the game how they want to. Adding on to the various RPG elements we've already seen, such as dungeons and playable races, I think it is almost a foregone conclusion that we will be seeing a class system of some sort make its way into Hytale. Now, whether we do or we don't, we'll just have to wait and find out. Either way, be sure to leave a comment down below telling me what you think about this theory. Whether you agree, disagree, or think I might have missed something, I'm more than eager to hear about it. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more Hytale news and theories leading up to the game's launch. Once the game does launch, however, check back as I start to turn out minigames, let's plays, and other such content. Once again though, my name is Tezu, and I'll see you guys next time.